Well, we'll have to start out with the kiss cam. Start out with the kiss cam today. I was not planning on doing anything today, but I have noticed how much there's been job things that have come up in the last week and a half or so. It started, I think, with Autism Awareness Month or whatever. There's so many people are talking about it, but it got to where there was just a ton of stories. So I want to go through them and talk about it because I want to talk about the culture, and I want to talk about basically where we're screwing up here. Let me figure out what I'm doing here. There we go. Alright, I'm going to pull up a few here.
HR policies and the idea of professionalism, they're drafted by neurotypical people via neurotypical standards of how a neurotypical brain should work.
One thing I would love to say,
well, how can my son, your daughter, be? How can we do that? Because our brain doesn't allow it.
I never thought as a pediatrician that I would be at all useful in a war.
I'm a guy
My
who
name is
lost a
Seema
bet
Jalani.
and my dignity. As if watching my team lose wasn't
worked
fun.
at Alexa Hospital.
Many kids with
During my time there, my role was as a pediatrician.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome to Draining.
Alright. I'm going to have to queue these up next time. Or just do them one at a time. Alright, well, so let's take a look at this first one. Now, the thing is what we're going to see here is that in the marketing of autistic people, what we have is the idea, and it's a universal idea, it's a human idea, and that is right now that our value is based on our productivity. So if we are not productive, then we don't have value as other human beings. And we have more value the more productive we are, or the richer we are. This is all true. Despite 77% of unemployed autistic adults wanting to find work.
I've been applying for jobs and I've not been getting the jobs that I want because of my label.
Sensory overloads and different textures and stuff can massively impact my day.
I only got diagnosed 4 years ago at age 30. I'm 34 now. So having 30 years of trying to work was very tough.
You're told you can do anything, that you'll always have that support. You get to an adult, you're left very much alone in a world that doesn't have a clue.
And that's all very true. And that was I could just tell by the way she was talking that she was early diagnosed autistic.
People need to be aware of it, otherwise change can't happen.
We need to stop the stereotypes. We need to educate people, and I think the local council.
Well, and the thing is what are we going to educate the people? That's the problem. We're trying to educate right now that autism exists, and everybody knows that. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares. I mean, so what? The flu exists too. I mean, that if that's all you're going to give me, it exists. Why should I care? So there does need to be education, but what kind of education? Right now, the people have been educated. And they've been educated very badly and given wrong information. The problem is it is groupthink, mobthink. There is a little bit of factual information out there. However, the majority does not have that. So the majority isn't stuck in this groupthink mentality of what autism is and the fact that we have very little or no value. So where do we need to educate them? Well, obviously, we need to show them that we do have value, and we need to show them that value shouldn't necessarily be based upon classical thoughts of productivity, such as being a factory worker. And that's exactly where most of these programs, most of everything we're going to see, is going to be directed directly at labor, manual labor. Is going to be most of what we see. Now, what I'm advocating for is that we have not only that we send all autistic kids to college if they want it, but also that they should have mentors of their special interest. Whatever that is, they should have mentors. We should have mentors for our special interest, particularly as children. Why? Because if you have a kid that's interested in Weeble Wobbles, they are going to be the most knowledgeable person about Weeble Wobbles that there is. And maybe they can make a heck of a lot of money buying, selling, and trading Weeble Wobbles by being the foremost expert in that. Maybe there's other toys and stuff. Usually there's other types of interest like that too. So no matter what, if we maybe they are curious about astronomy or heart surgery or whatever, and maybe it's the inner workings of a restaurant or whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever their special interests are is what we should foster, and we should give them all kinds of opportunities for. I say them, us. I guess it's because I'm 54 and I'm thinking of kids, is why I'm framing it as in them, as in those kids, those young adults, those young people. So that's what we've really got to keep in mind, and watch this as we're. I don't even know. I think I've got 20, 30 stories here, but if you watch, you're going to see a pattern here.
I think education providers, healthcare, I think we all have a part to play in that.
To understand that not everybody has a visible disability, it can be hidden.
They're often extremely loyal, reliable, conscientious and persistent employees with high levels of attention to detail, concentration and great memories. Valuable qualities in a work.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I have the best memory or not. But okay, you can put that on us.
What we could all learn about autism and learning disabilities, please visit staffordshire.gov.uk/celebrating differences.
Hey, look at this. Look at that. See? That's cool. That's a cool symbol. I don't know what all these little faint whites are, probably like completely ableist, horrible things that they got there. And I'm all talking about how great it is.
I'd love to say to all the staff at ACIs, thank you.
So the cool thing about that one, you know what? That one's actually going to get quite a few because I had autistic people talking and it wasn't intellectualizing. That's definitely that actually probably resonate. Yeah, that just resonate. That was a pretty darn good one. That's just so satisfying.
Thank you.
Like, you know, that when there's only one engine or just the engine, it is so.
Someone that knew little to nothing, and
it's a travesty. And I don't even like trains, but you know, you just get that satisfaction when all 10 of them go by.
About autism-friendly jobs. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I wanted to talk about some things to look for when you or your loved one are looking for jobs that can more so fit your needs as an autistic person and therefore be more sustainable. Hopefully as well, more fulfilling. Now, I want to share with you guys a statistic. At least 85% of autistic adults with a college education are unemployed. And this is according to the 2023 statistics from the U.S. Department of Labor. Let me repeat to you guys, I am not great at numbers, but 85% of the whole US population, right? 85% of autistic adults that have college education are unemployed. Mm-hmm. So this isn't even a matter of your intellect, you know? That is a high number, 85%. I just want to read off a little bit more from this article before I get into what I have to talk about, because I think along with learning about ourselves, it's also important to learn about the systematic ways that we are influenced and the ways that society influences us. A 2020 study of the performance of autistic job seekers by the UK's University of Bath and University College London found that autistic applicants are less likely to engage in impression management, which is the conscious or subconscious process in which someone will attempt to influence how people perceive them, using strategies such as persuasion and self-promotion.
Okay, so I've always been fairly skilled at this. I found that the only way that I could get anything done was to handle people, unfortunately, because I'm autistic, I guess. I just had to handle my psychiatrist, and basically, my psychiatrist basically breached my trust, but I need him for the medication and so forth. So I basically just went in there and told him everything he wanted to hear. He was so happy that he had cured me. Okay, maybe not cured, but he was just so happy that his work, and he was so darn successful. And basically, I just stopped calling him out on his bullshit. So it's kind of sad. But the thing is I walked in there with that intent. I'm going to feed him a load of his bullshit. And so that he hears what he wants and I get what I need. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm getting my medications, but the guy's a Fruit Loop.
This causes autistic applicants to often rate poorly in confidence, communication skills, and likability. I also want you guys to note that just because it says that an autistic person struggles with this doesn't mean that it's impossible, right?
And it also doesn't mean that it's obvious that we struggle with things.
There are a lot of autistic people out there who are high masking and high camouflaging, who can, to a degree, succeed at impression management, but to the detriment of their own mental health and physical health. I want to keep that in mind as well. Not only are the conversational contents of interviews more stressful for people on the autism spectrum, but the nonverbal aspects can put them at a disadvantage. 43% of hiring managers view...
And I'm pretty good at blending in and knowing how to show confidence. I've learned how to... I don't know if it's my PDA autism or the fact that I was forced into the world like I was. And also my flavor of autism. All those things, you know, are a factor. The environment that I was in. But I learned that I had to bullshit people and not be me to get what I wanted. And I also learned how to please people because that's what I had to do for survival. So...
things like poor body language, including a lack of eye contact, not smiling or fidgeting, all things adults on the autism spectrum may present as an instant deal breaker, according to a report from a Career Insights platform. Unlike their neurotypical coworkers who can often maintain productivity in office settings while navigating conversations and distractions, employees on the spectrum often need a quieter space to work, or they may even need headphones while they're working.
I'm going to skip her for now.
All right, Temple, I'd like to talk about employment.
Okay, now Temple, there's a lot of people that do not like Temple because she's pretty hard. She's pretty hardcore. She's a cowgirl. I mean, she's a real cowgirl. A real cowgirl. Shoot. She's probably been thrown off of so many horses you wouldn't know it. But anyway, she does have a very much cowboy up attitude. I like her a lot. And she has supposedly said some very controversial things about autistic people out in the workplace and so forth. For me, I understand her 100% because I'm part of her culture. She lives about an hour and a half away from me. I could go see her in an hour and a half. Easy. Maybe 2 hours drive. It's just, it's in Colorado. It's here in Colorado. It's just up the highway.
Yeah.
But the thing is when she says that autistics should be pushed to go out in the world and so forth, there is some merit to what she's saying. There's only one thing that a kid shouldn't do, and that's not live. I'm going to say that again. There's only one thing a child should not do, and that's not live. Autistic people need to have a life too. And for me, if I was to raise me, I would make me do some of the things that my parents made me do, like play kickball and so forth, when I didn't want to, every once in a while, particularly as a kid. I learned to do what I didn't want to because I had no choice. I was just forced to do it, or I'd get my ass beat. You know, that's how it was back then.
And I'm curious of what some of your ideas are to increase the rate of employment for adults with autism.
First of all, we've got two groups here. We got ones where no preparation was done. All right, let's first of all talk about the ones that are in the pipeline now, maybe the kid's 10.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he should have had chores. Got to
start there she goes.
Tasks to his work. When they get to around 11 years old, we need to be doing volunteer work. Now, COVID's made a mess out of this. Because the thing that I would recommend is, okay, if you go to a church.
Okay, so why did she say the kid should do chores? That is to teach responsibility, and it's also to teach what I call like natural consequences. Like you do chores, you feed the animals or whatever, they say healthy, and then you can take them to the barn and sell them. That's all natural consequences. It's not someone imposing their will on you, unless they're the person making you do chores.
You need to be doing a volunteer job, maybe set up the food or some other usher, whatever. It's important that you do a task on a schedule outside the home. That needs to start like at age 11. That's the old age that we had paper routes. Because I have all kinds of granddaddies come up to me and grandmoms come up to me, and they find out they're on the autism spectrum and they have decent jobs. Mm-hmm. But they had paper routes when they were 11.
Yep. So
we've got to make a substitute for that. Okay, and COVID's made a mess out of, working at the farmer's market. Then they can get a little older, they can volunteer at the animal shelter. Mm-hmm. But we got to find things for them to do outside the home on a schedule. And even now, they can walk dogs, they can take out trash, they can do garden work. Now we're getting into winter.
She said on a schedule, just like work. So you're getting kids used to being on the schedule and getting. I would just say this goes for kids. I wouldn't even say necessarily autistic kids. I would not to exclude autistic kids, but what I'm saying is all kids in general.
Now, there's still things that they could do. Instant, they're legal. Before they graduate from high school, they need to get jobs. Now, in the U.S., that's anywhere from 14 to 16 years old. Mm-hmm. You turn 14 or 16, you need to get a job. So that they've learned the work before they graduate. Now, we've got to be careful about the multitasking. Don't shove them on the takeout window at McDonald's. Way too much multitasking. Can't do that. Got to be careful about the multitasking.
Good job. Good job.
They need to get jobs. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, when I worked in construction all the time, I worked with people that are my age now. They were running businesses. I know a guy who's autistic, dyslexic, ADHD, owns an international metal fabrication company. Mm-hmm. I cannot go into what they make because it's undiagnosed, but I know autism when I see it. Mm-hmm. And he stutters too, on top of it.
Yeah. So all that is like he's autistic. And Temple knows.
Even that practice at a young age.
Well, he was a lousy student in high school. He took a single welding class. It saved him. And he started making things and showing it at little trade shows and his company grew.
So you have this group of younger kids, and what's the other group? Adults who are now unemployed?
Where sometimes they've graduated from college and they've never had a job. Parents forget that academic skills are totally different than work skills. So you've got a guy who's never had a job, and maybe even an advanced degree. I've read about a lawyer that had a law degree, got fired from 2 law firms because he wouldn't show up on time for client meetings. You're not late to big client meetings. And he did not get the reports written. Now, I had a lot of problems, but I got my stuff written on time for the farm arrangement. And there were certain meetings I had to cover, like the Arizona cattle feeders, University of Arizona Cattle Field Day. I had to cover these things. And I did that. See, that's just basic thing. And the other thing, I had a boss that, when you saw it in the movie, they slammed the deodorant down and said, "You stink, use it." It's okay to be eccentric. You can't be a rude, filthy slob. That is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You cannot be a rude, filthy slob. You just can't be. So let's just start with the total basics. And the way to get around the interview thing, if you have a ability, like I could show drawings, I could show pictures of jobs. Somebody who's a programmer could show off some of their code. Says, well, I can do Python, look at this code, or I do JavaScript, look at what I made with JavaScript, and you have it on your tablet, and you show off the thing you made, and then you show the code behind it. Mm-hmm. See, that's how a techie can do an interview.
Now, what she's talking about is how to sell your talents. Okay? Temple was interested in cattle and so forth, and the slaughterhouses and so forth. And she went and made those drawings, and she went and showed them how to do it, and they did it, and it worked. And she is saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the cattle industry nowadays. Maybe I'm sure it's in the millions now, but nonetheless, she took her talent. There were some mentors that she had in her life, but for the most part, she did it herself. And the thing is my father always told me that nobody's going to do a thing for you but yourself. And it's really important to realize that, yes, you do have to do things for yourself because no one else will do it. And you have to sell your talents, your skills. You have to show your skills and not be afraid to get them. And if you are afraid, you're going to have to do it anyway. That's what sucks about being autistic. Sometimes we just have to do shit. It's horribly, it's just not fun.
Artists can do an interview, or you can show off writing, for journalism. And the trick is, don't put too much junk in the portfolio. Basically, what you want is a 30-second wow. That's what you look at it and go, wow. That's what you want.
What can employers do to be more inclusive?
That's very important, what she just said about the 30-second wow. Give them your 30-second wow and then shut up. And I'm very bad about doing that. But in fact, I probably didn't. All of the job, I usually got most jobs that I put in or if I got an interview, I got the job. Usually. But the ones I didn't is probably because I ran my mouth too much. And I just should have shut up and let them go wow and not convince them of anything else.
Diverse.
Well, the thing with the person with autism is you cannot be vague. You don't just say to them, well, do create some new programs. You're better off to say, on this project, you have to create some code that does this. Let the programmer do the coding. But you tell them what the outcome is. It has to be on this platform, this much memory, and get it done in 30 days from now, on the 1st of January. It be specific. And then, if the guy makes really bad social mistakes, don't be vague. Pull them into the office, tell them in private what they've done wrong. And I remember criticizing some welding on the first project I ever worked on, and I said, look like pigeon doo-doo. Pulled me into his office and explained that was not appropriate. And I had to apologize. What he did is he didn't yell and scream at me. He told me what I should do. The boss sort of needs to look at it. It's like coaching somebody in a foreign country. It's kind of like that. And And some of these people need a quiet place to work. Open plan, super busy, crazy, noisy office is not going to work. And the multitasking is the other thing. And don't put long strings of verbal instructions on them. I can't remember sequence. I can't remember sequence.
No. But if I can write down each step.
And I figured out how to do that at project meetings because I'd have different kinds of jobs. Like new construction is like a flat site. Okay, I know what that is. But then you'd have remodel jobs, and then you got to decide what to tear out, what you're going to keep. And I'd figure out, okay, now we're going to take out this fence, we're going to take out this old junky shed. I'm actually seeing jobs now. Where it's very clear what they want. And my mind tends to categorize. Okay, well, if I'm doing consulting, do they just want, let's say it's an existing facility, they just want some cattle handling consulting, and we maybe repair a couple of gates. That would be the simplest job. Then you have ones we might tear out a small part of it. Then they have ones I used to call major surgery, where we rip out something really big, and then you have new construction. But I kind of got to scope out, what the client probably wants to do. And I like to have it very clear, so when I design something, it's within certain boundaries. Like I got to be 3 meters off the center of the railroad spur, for example. Those are things that I have to follow.
So also, the employees need to know what they need and advocate for themselves.
Well, the other thing is the one thing, anything that involves sequencing, pilots, checklists. And I used to just say, I need to write it down. I like clear goals. I just did a project, 5 years ago where there was a whole bunch of people writing an animal welfare document. And there was 20 people in this big conference room, and I just said, well, how about I just do this section and this format, and it's supposed to be this length, I'll have it done on the 15th. Do the references in this format, so I know up front that's my part of it. And it's got pretty distinct boundaries. But then again, I'm a member of a team, and we got to get the document out. And I was going through the reading it, and one of the other team members in another part made a very bad technical mistake. I didn't rub their nose in it. I just corrected it, no track changes. Because it wasn't something where there'd be an opinion about it. It was something that was just flat wrong. It'd be like saying that, I'm just trying to make something really, really silly. I can't say, I can't think of something that's obviously silly.
But things that are really objectively clear.
Yeah, like saying glass is made out of steel. Okay. Something that. I can't say the sky is orange because we had fires here and our sky actually turned orange right outside.
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders.
That was interesting. I don't know this channel or anything else, but yeah, that was kind of interesting. But yeah, Temple rubs people the wrong way. But she's just a tough old cowgirl. That's all she is. There ain't nothing soft about her.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Asperger's from the Inside. You're here with Paul. Today I wanted to talk about how sometimes socializing can be incredibly draining and incredibly painful even if you don't have the energy to do it, and to explain a couple of the reasons why that is and how it actually makes sense. Sometimes when we don't understand the reasons behind things, it's easy to think, oh, I should be able to do it, or there's something wrong with me because I can't do these things. But actually, autistic behavior is human behavior, and the things that we do and that we have trouble with are actually really common for everybody. So I'll give you an example. I go to the gym in the morning very often, and sometimes it's necessary for me to actually talk to a person at the front desk to get to my class properly. And that is really, really painful at 6 a.m. in the morning. I've already pushed myself to get up in the morning. I've already pushed myself to get there and get dressed, hopefully, if all things went well. The extra effort required to interact with another human being at that time of the morning in my mental state at the time is just way too much and feels harder than, you know, an hour of exercise at that time of day. And the reason is because when you interact with someone else, there are certain things you have to do. And if you don't do these things, then it's considered rude and you essentially damage the relationship.
Right.
And those little things are the reason that socializing is very tiring and sometimes even painful to try and do these things when you don't have the energy. So what are the things that I'm talking about? If someone says hello, it's polite to say hello back. If someone asks you a question, it's polite to respond. If someone interacts with you, it's polite to just respond a little bit or give someone eye contact or smile at them, or there's a huge list of things that are polite to do, and that if you don't do, you'll come across as rude because you didn't do them. Now, there are a couple of options, you know, to get around that, but the easiest one is to say, I'm too tired for this kind of social interaction at the moment. I'm going to decline your invitation to come out to dinner, or I'm going to decline your invitation to go to this party, or have a phone call. Maybe a phone call is too difficult for sometimes. So, and this is actually relatively easy to explain to someone else who doesn't experience the same level of tiredness from everyday kind of social interaction.
Okay. So I like totally got off subject on that one. So
have a difficult time finding a job after graduation.
Get back to jobs.
We all want our child or clients to be as independent as possible.
Now this lady, I don't particularly care for. We'll see.
Into adulthood, and part of that,
she is not autistic. She's got an autistic kid, and she's an autism mom.
Is being able to find a job, but what can we do to help kids who are teens transitioning to adulthood to find the independence after graduation?
Today she got all the puzzle pieces there.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Barbera, autism mom, board certified behavior analyst.
Okay, yeah. Oh boy, wow. She is a super autism mom. Board certified behavior analyst.
Online course creator and best-selling author of The Verbal Behavior Approach. Each week, I provide you with some of my ideas about
I feel sick to my stomach. I literally feel sick to my stomach already.
Turning autism around. So if you haven't subscribed to
Turning it around, huh? As if it's a disease.
YouTube channel, you can do that now. Today, I'm interviewing
You can't turn autism around. It's like, why don't you just say turning pregnancy around? Huh? That's how offensive that is. Turning pregnancy around. That is truly offensive.
Attorney and an author, Gary Mayerson, who gives advice on how to better prepare our children with autism.
Actually, to tell you the truth, I don't think I've been offended a day in my life, but that's something that those people tend to understand if you say that. So I'll say that in certain circumstances, but I don't think I've ever been offended in a day in my life. And the reason is this. If somebody says something stupid, well, they just said something stupid. Not me. It may affect me, which may piss me off, but being offended that they're stupid doesn't... No, I'm not going to waste my energy on that.
Or life following graduation. To hear the whole podcast interview, you can go to marybarbera.com/43 or click the card on the screen now.
So you are writing a second book that will be out soon called The Autism's Declaration of Independence. So tell us about that book. How is that different than your first book, and why are you writing it?
Autism's Declaration of Independence focuses on basically the ramp up, how to get the best possible outcome for your child upon the transition to adulthood. I think that so much of our focus, as whether as clinicians or as educators, is we're looking at the child that year. We're focusing way too much on that particular school year as opposed to taking the long view and making a plan or a series of plans that will put that child into the best possible place of self-sufficiency and independence when that child graduates.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about with mentorship, with really developing whatever their particular special interest is. If they were to focus on that, and that's where they need to go on this. He's not going to go there. Guarantee you that. But that's where it needs to go.
From the public school system. So I think that, and I've seen this, hundreds of times now, where families are doing all they can, the school district.
So I guess he doesn't have a solution.
Is doing what they think is right, and then the child graduates to unemployment, necessarily having to live with their parents, as opposed to, and that could be a great choice.
That's a very, very, very likely thing. It's to be expected. But he's going to talk about the kids living with their parents, but that's just common with neurotypicals now.
For students too, but not by default. And having a housing crisis, and everybody's saying, well, they graduated. Well, what did they graduate to? So the Andrew F. case is part of what they've said, and part of what Congress has said, that they're really focusing on the outcome. We're looking at what is the outcome as the proof of whether the programming and everything that was happening in school was effective. So the book is about how to shape your child's educational program through the assessment process, through using experts, through accessing the programming and the
using experts. How?
Supports that are available in the public school system, so that the child is able to graduate.
Oh, education experts, not like experts in a particular field or at any particular thing, more than likely.
To something that's meaningful and fulfilling for them upon the transition to adulthood. So much of what we see today is that you will see conference after conference about transition. That's the issue today. It's no longer, we've already bought into, we know that ABA is demonstrably effective. We don't have to keep reinventing.
Yeah, it's great. It's completely, brainwashing has always been effective. We know that.
That wheel over and over again as we did 15 or 20 years ago. Now it's accepted. The surgeon.
Yes, we know brainwashing works. No, you don't need to go on about it.
General has said that it's ineffective.
Yes, we all know that brainwashing works.
Method. The New York State Department of Health has a 3
Now he's having to defend it. He's on defense mode because he knows it's crap.
or 4 volume set was published in the 1990s that said it was the effective method. So we don't have to reinvent or.
Why are you having to defend it then so much if it's so damn effective? And it's because most people that have gone through it say it's torture and have gone through PTSD, and because it does more harm than good, and you know it. But it makes autistic people look like they're not autistic.
Fight some of those battles again, But we do have to keep sharpening our pencil a little bit so that we have better outcomes.
I think you need to sharpen the brain
for students with autism, whether they are
with autism, that disease.
And I hate this terminology.
I hate that. Yeah, and I hate high functioning and low functioning too. So why are you using it?
Functioning, low functioning. I don't care about any of that. Wherever the child is, the Supreme Court use of the word potential means that child has a potential, and we need to be using that potential to determine what's an appropriate and meaningful program for that child. And we should
No, what about self-destiny? What about them determining? What about them being part of it? Huh? But no, you're gonna treat autistic people like they are incapable of doing that.
Look at the outcome of how independent we were able to get that student, how self-sufficient we were able to get that student as a measure of our success. Because ultimately, we all know how much it costs to sustain a person with autism who has to live in a group home or in some other kind of similar facility.
Yeah, well, guess what? How much has Bill Gates and Elon Musk made compared to you, buddy? I'm just wondering. If you take Elon Musk, what Elon Musk is worth and what Bill Gates is worth, what's that compared to what you're worth? You probably make 0.000000001% of what they do. And I make less than that. So, is it really that expensive, or are there autistics in this world that are massive employers that contribute massively in ways that no one else could possibly contribute to society? Could that not be the case there, buddy?
It's millions of dollars over a lifetime. Millions of dollars. And if you're going to invest the money, invest in independence and invest in self-sufficiency. That's sustainable. And today we're seeing many more students with autism. I'm not just talking about Asperger's, but with regular autism.
With regular autism, as opposed to with that regular autism, you don't want to get that funky autism, just the regular autism. That funky autism is just straight up funky.
Going on to a college experience, going on to a vocational experience. One of the other hats that I wear is I'm the board chair of a not-for-profit called JobPath, which is located in New York City. And JobPath does what the public school system has pretty much failed to do, which is provide the appropriate vocational training, assessment, and services so that the student...
My son is Braxton, and he was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Even if they don't go on to college, has some kind of skill. So, and these are not just jobs. Some of the jobs are, scanning or shredding jobs in offices, but many of them are working in a restaurant, preparing food, working in an office, putting files together, and so forth. So,
like running companies, they could do that too. Them artistic people, they can run corporations even. Yep, them corporations, they could run them. They run them. They sure could.
Today's autism graduate has a future to look forward to in many cases that just didn't exist 10 or 20 years ago. So I think job development is a gigantic issue. When you're talking about an unemployment rate, and we can argue about whether it's 80%, 85, or 90, or 95%, but it's way high. It's too high.
Yeah, it's immaterial.
If you're a typically developing person and you see the unemployment rate going over 5%, you freak. This is at least 80, 85%. It's just unacceptable.
Wow. Fuck you, buddy.
What are we going to do is, the book is, and the book also has...
You just called us unacceptable. Yes, I would definitely like to fix that, and I definitely want to see more autistic people employed. Definitely. But it needs to be on our terms. And what autistic people can handle and what they can do. And that's why it's so important to find those special interests and use those special interests whenever possible, because then they're, by just human nature, they're going to have a lot more energy, enthusiasm, and they're probably going to be the best at what they do.
Contains many stories from the cases we've had, some of the...
At least among the best.
More interesting stories. And we have vignettes of what happened in the case, the backstory. So I think that a lot of families might find interesting to see what happened in these particular cases. So the book it's a different approach. Yes, it has the practical strategies that parents can use if they're at loggerheads with the school district, how to go to mediation, how to send a 10-day letter, how to demand due process, how to settle the case. It has all that, but it has more. And the more is basically the forward-looking, looking towards a sustainable future and the transition to adulthood.
Yeah, which is so important. And when you're talking about transition, the transition age when we really are required by law to start looking at it is age 14. But even if you have a 10-year-old or 12-year-old who is very impaired, instead of arguing and litigating whether they should have this or that, we really also need to be looking at what are they going to do at 16? What are they going to do at 18? What are they going to do at 25 years of age? Because that should help shape the IEP. Because like you said, independence is so important, and it is one of the things that I've focused on over the years. The other thing you said is you have this Job Path nonprofit, which is awesome. And I just want to also encourage behavior analysts and teachers listening is you don't have to like send kids to a program or even have a program already established. You may use ABA principles to go in like I did when I had a 6th grader client, and then I had him up through 21. So
now see that? We had him up through 21, and that's why they try to build that relationship with that client, if you want to call it that. That's why it is a cult. And as soon as they get that client, they want the parents to become dependent upon the ABA. Just like religion. It's the same thing as religion. God never does anything wrong. Anything that good that ever happens, we attribute to God. In the same way with ABA, we don't know if that child would have potty trained on their own if the ABA, quote, did it, right? We don't know. They may have done it on their own. My son didn't go through any ABA, and he didn't have any issues. My daughter didn't go through ABA. She didn't have any issues. Now, my son, he didn't even talk, or he was still in a diaper. I always joke that whether he would be in a diaper or talk by the time he went to school, but he did it. And we worked on it, and we made it happen. And that was a project that he and I did together. We didn't know anybody was autistic. I didn't know he was dyslexic or anything else, but we dealt with it. So ABA is not the magic pill that they're all trying to make it be. It boggles my mind how they always leave out the fact that kids mature. Well, and it comes with what they call regression or whatever, Well, there was regression, and then I took them to ABA, and they got better. Okay, no matter what, if a child goes into the, quote, regression, no matter what they come out of it, every time. Yet, ABA will not tell you that. They will take credit for everything that's been taught. And I'm supposed to be talking about the jobs and so forth, and that's what they're supposed to be talking about.
So at age 14, we started looking, where is this student going to be able to go for transition trials, for work trials?
I had ABA, well, it wasn't ABA when I was little. It was all the same principles of behavioral science. It was applied to me. It was just given a name and made official later, at about a decade or two later. Because I was 10 years old in 1980. But the thing is it definitely, I think, it had me mistrust everyone because they were not trustworthy. What they did to me with the behavioral science crap, I did not trust any adults as a result. I'd never trusted anyone, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of it has to do with going back to the behavioral science crap that they used to try on me, because I recognized that it was crap, and that was the problem. Until I started learning how I could manipulate them to get what I wanted. This is a sad thing. Well, I learned that they were trying to manipulate me and trying to force me to do things. I'm PDA. So the fact that they were trying to manipulate me and force me to do things, and I didn't care. They didn't explain what they were trying to do or why. They were just doing shit. And just trying to force me to do things for no reason. So I began to hate and resent them, and then they didn't follow through with promises and stuff like that. The other thing is when you did one task or whatever, that one task was never good enough. then the next day you had to do that task and another task, and then that task and another task. And so there was never an end. No one was ever happy. I was never, ever good enough. And that's what they taught, that I wasn't good enough. They didn't teach me that, yes, you have progressed and now you're doing so well that you can do something else. That's not how they presented it. It was literally the do this kind of thing, you know. At least that's how I perceived it. Right. You're right. It was just a bunch of stupid tasks for me. Now, if you had put me in a barn and said, this is a shovel and this is how we use a shovel, and we started shoveling shit, at least I would understand that there was a task that needed to be done, and this is how we were doing it. And there was context, and all they'd have to do is say, you know, we want to learn how to use a shovel today, so we're going to clean the barn. Okay, I've got it. I understand. But they never started with that. They just said, here's a shovel, clean up shit. And I was like, up yours, people. And this is a little child. Because I there was no reason for me. Why should I be shoveling it? You know, if you say
I didn't have any experience. It's kind of like being a waitress. It's like, you just have
and
to.
And even with all the experience that you have, you're still completely clueless.
Start working with where you can volunteer, where you can observe, who's willing. Like the guy at the local restaurant here, he's like, Lucas can come in anytime, you know, with his aide, who's not a job coach or anything, but she knows ABA, she knows Lucas. Like, we'll figure it out. So some of it is just...
ABA is not necessary to teach people things. That's one thing that they try to frame with the autism moms, is that you have to use ABA to teach. And you don't. You do not have to try to force people to do what you want. The correct approach is to tell them what the task that needs to be accomplished is, and help them to discover what the tools are that are used to accomplish that task, and then maybe even teach them to use those tools, and let them go.
It's like, because there's just not enough established programs.
Well, okay, JV, this is the thing about the social aspect in jobs. I have always been able to get a job very quickly, very easily. The interview process has been very easy for me. The problem is this: after 6 months or a year or whatever, once I feel comfortable with that culture and I know who's who and what's what, I start feeling comfortable. Then I start to unmask and I start to be myself and say weird shit, and I get fired. That's been my life story. Now, I've had jobs for like up to 15 years and so forth, but even at that job, that's literally what happened. I was fired for being autistic from the state.
Right now to deal with the influx of kids that are going to be coming. And so I really think your book's going to be important, and this podcast is important to tell people, you know, we just need to start developing things based on the...
Yeah, you see how they still aren't talking about helping the child to develop their special interest in what they're interested in and what they're good at? No. We just got to find the right fit to where we can get him to do manual labor. That's the right thing to do. Manual labor. Them artistic people, they ain't very smart anyway. They ain't gonna know that they're just not doing nothing, doing the same thing all day. They're gonna love that stuff. They love that repetition. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
The individuals that you have.
Somebody's gonna record that one day and say I was making fun of autistic people. Look at him, he's so evil.
And their needs, and use the principles. Like when I went into a laundry at the hospital.
And to clarify, I'm not making fun of autistic people. I'm making fun of holistic people. I can do that. That's totally, like, that's legal. Autistic people can make fun of neurotypical people, and that's completely legal. And I am taking that torch. Right, you're right. Yes, the measures that they take, yes. And that's the thing is, the autistic person should be not only the focus of attention, not only the center of attention, but the epicenter of attention. The epicenter. It should be going out, not imposing in. But allowing this person to bring themselves out, to bring their potential out, to be who they are and what they are, no matter what that is. But we can't just try to shove somebody in a job because there's a coffee shop down the street. They may not like coffee.
Show me your simplest job.
After that speech, that was just what she said. Show me it's your simplest job. See how she's infantilizing us? Now, I realize that there are... Well, and see, I can anticipate these things. I see these things. It's a pattern thing, right? With autism, right? But, yeah, you can sit here and know what they're going to say. And I said that. I do that all the time. I do that all the time. But, yeah, she said the simplest jobs. Just because we're autistic, and I will say I am simple-minded, and in a lot of things, I am very simple-minded. I mean, like, it don't work. The synapses are not firing, okay? And what's the Beck? We're talking about jobs and the perception of people about the job market with autistic people and their attitudes towards autistic people basically being really limited. What's the term I can use? Feeble-minded? Can I say that? They think we're feeble-minded? And we have different support needs, and we have different abilities, and we have different communication abilities. And I understand that people only see the stereotypes. I'm in the NOC and surrounded by neurodivergent people. What's the NOC? I don't know what that is.
Individuals that you have.
Right. You're so right. Right. You're absolutely right, JV. It's about accommodating us with our strengths. Because, well, the thing is, though, let's just say, let's go down this road. Let's say that we lived in a perfect world and that autistic people were coddled and taught to brought the world's best experts at whatever their special interest is. I don't care if it's Pokemon. Because if someone is really good at Pokemon and they know all the value of all the toys and everything else, they could trade and get rich. And then they could, pay taxes and give to society and help, But let's say it's a perfect world. You know what's going to happen then? Because when we are in our zone, like your Bill Gates, your Elon Musk, whether we like them or not, when you're in that zone, then people start hating you because you're so successful. And then autistic people would start to be a threat. Autistic people would be considered a threat to neurotypical people for taking their jobs. And mark my words, that will come. Absolutely. And see, that's what's great about bringing the best out of disasters. I had a personal friend pass from COVID, so I'm not by any means saying that COVID was a good thing, but it is a good thing that human beings are smart enough to take a bad thing and take good from it. Okay? Yeah, well, he raped my daughter, so I wasn't too upset about it. Oops, maybe TikTok's going to kick me off for that one. But he was a friend of the family, and then I found out about all that, and whew, yeah, that wasn't good. Yep. But I hate what he did, and I wouldn't want him to die or, his family, to suffer or anything over it. If you understand what I'm saying, what he did was horrible, but that was him, and I wouldn't want his family to pay for that by any means.
And use the principles. Like when I went into a laundry at the hospital, I'm like, show me your simplest job.
No, it wasn't, and it's pretty much screwed up her whole family, actually, is what it did. She went off the deep end, and then all kinds of stuff happened.
Or with Lucas, he likes to sit to do work versus stand. He's bothered by loud noises. Okay, show me where is the quietest job, where's the simplest job, where's jobs that you could sit, and just start piecing together work trials that can give us data.
Sure, and parents, in some instances, have to be inventive and creative enough to start their own employment situation completely from scratch. We have a client family that lives in Kodiak Island, Alaska, the Pletnikoff family, and I say their name only because they've been very outspoken and they've used their name. Otherwise, it would be confidential, of course. But when their son graduated from the public school system,
and the thing is I have heard this so many times. Now, I'm going to go back to what she said, because I want to go back to what she didn't say. I've heard so many times, we've got to collect data, we've got to do research, we've got to do this, and all they would have to do is go to the autistic community and ask. Literally, there is zero need for many, many of these research things when all they have to do is literally go ask autistic people. That's all you have to do, because they're not getting any better data than just asking autistic people on a lot of this. Now, I'm not talking about, genetics, whatever, but I'm talking about how does your day-to-day life work, And so they go do observations and research. Ask us! I just wonder how dumb people feel when there's an autistic person going, boy, that wasn't very smart there now, was that there, feller? And here she is.
Or with Lucas, he likes to sit to do work versus stand. He's bothered by loud.
I'll tell you what, I got remarried, and my wife was married before I was too, and I just wondered, like, if her ex-husband, I guess he was kind of a jerk, so I don't know. My wife married up. She married an autistic. Now, if he knew that, how would he feel?
Noises. Okay, show me where is the quietest job, where's the simplest job, where's jobs that you could sit, and just start piecing together work trials that can give us data.
Sure, and parents, in some instances, have to be inventive and creative enough to...
So these authorities are going to do their part. The parents are going to do their part. Nobody's going to ask the autistic person, or, ableist is all get out. That's why I can't stand this woman. I just really do not like her. And the thing is she has no clue how ableist she is. None. And I understand that there are autistics that literally you have to do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that isn't the case with some of us. And if that is the case, then great. But in the context that she's putting it, that's the only case. Because she hasn't mentioned that there could be any other case than treating us like simpletons.
Start their own employment situation completely from scratch. We have a client family that lives in Kodiak Island, Alaska, the Pletnikoff family.
Is this that Gabby family?
And I say their name only because they've been very outspoken and they've used their name. Otherwise, it would be confidential, of course. But when their son graduated from the public school system and was looking for employment, they came up with a fascinating idea, which is to create, dog tags. Lots of dogs in Kodiak Island, right? Dog tags, personalized dog tags, and their child was able to start this business and basically be an entrepreneur in an area that wouldn't necessarily have a lot of regular jobs in office. They don't even have.
And that's cool. That is super cool. And that's the type of things that you mentioned you could do at home. And if you have the right mentorship and the right support system, an autistic person could do that, by all means. And I say an autistic person, so could a neurotypical person. A neurotypical person could do that with the right support. So that's the context that I like to put it in. Rather than saying that autistic kids are just special or whatever, but put it in the context of when we talk about this applies to everyone and anyone, not just autistic children. Why would it?
Well, really, that many offices in Kodiak Island. There's no ready employment other than the fishing industry. Pretty much, it's
right. Imagine if you had coaches to help you write your business plan, and I mean literally like sit down with you and help you and talk you through it, and then sit there and talk you through the taxes and tell you all the different steps that you need to do for a business, and then once you have your books or whatever, okay, well maybe that's not your talent and your strength. You know this, so okay, how can we get your books to a trusted person, maybe an accountant or something that will do it pro bono, will do it for free, whatever, to get this going. And that's where your support system is. It's like your friends and your people around. But if we need to, yeah, exactly. I don't consider, in that respect, I don't consider myself disabled. In the respect of like my ADHD and the sensitivities and everything else, absolutely disabled. But my brain, my thinking ability is not disabled. It's, except for in some ways. Some ways I'm really disabled.
it's pretty much fishing oriented. So, but this is a situation where the family got together and they used their head and they said, you know, what would be in demand here on Kodiak Island? And dog tags was something that worked for them. So, you know, if you're a parent and you're living in a remote area, don't give up. You can just put on your thinking cap. You may come up with something that people need.
You're absolutely right. It
and
is.
That will be a job for your child, or can be.
Wherever you're watching this, I'd love it if you would leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up.
Oh no, you
share
don't.
This video with others who may benefit.
You would
and
not
for more
appreciate my
information, you can
comments.
attend a free.
That's some comments you don't want to hear there.
Stigmas. HR policies and the idea of professionalism, they're drafted by
Well, this is the thing, actually, that I'm going to take issue with what you said there, JV. Howdy, Trevor. The world does make accommodations. In fact, it makes accommodations for 99% of the population. It's 1% of the population that we don't make accommodations for. Why aren't you talking to your people? I had my boss one time. I was driving a trash truck. I did that for 5 years. And my boss asked me why I didn't wave to the other drivers. And frankly, I didn't even notice them because I was paying attention to the road and all the threats and paying attention to my peripheral vision and everything else. So I wasn't looking in there, and I'm face blind anyway. But I didn't know any of this. I didn't know I was autistic. But the thing was I wasn't socializing as he would have expected. And the funny thing is his little brother was actually autistic, high support needs autistic. And he didn't recognize it in me. But I guarantee you now, if I was to go back to him, if I meet him someday again, I'll be like, yeah, guess what? And I guarantee you he'll be like, oh, it'll click for him. He was a good guy, but still, and the only reason that he came to me is probably because one of the owner or something came to me, or came to him and asked him. So your school refuses to accommodate you and tries to convince you to be normal. What kind of school is it? Is it what kind of school? Just kind of curious.
Typical people via neurotypical standards of how a neurotypical brain should work. Well, how can my son, your daughter be?
Dude, so, oh, wow, that's crazy. That's really weird because universities nowadays are getting really good about that. Are they helping with any kind of tutors or anything like that? And in a psychology program, of course. Now, this is the interesting thing about psychology, and I want to talk about this extensively, but there is no requirement for any mental health worker in the United States to have ever heard of autism. There is no test to say that they know what the word means or have ever even heard of it. Now, I know, now if you go to if you talk to a lot of psychologists, whatever, they're going to say, hey, yeah, but they got training in neurodiversity and blah, 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 blah. There's no standard of care. There's zero standard of care. There is zero guidelines of care. And so I'm actually really going to push and talk about this a lot because I think there does need to be standards of care. Well, for all developmentally ill people. Ill. I just call this disease. What the hell? See, I deal with these people so much, like I'm absorbing it and using their. Oh, I feel so bad. I said that. I feel dirty. I'm gonna move along. I feel dirty now.
I mean, how can we do that? Because our brain doesn't allow it. It's not possible. What do you think? How can we go forward here?
I totally agree.
Anyway, what I was getting with the neurotypicals, we accommodate 99% of the people. That's what masking is accommodating the neurotypicals. Thank you so much. But we accommodate neurotypicals all day long. And I like to put it in that kind of perspective because when they think of accommodations, they think that, they're doing something special. No, they have accommodated neurotypical people in that social work structure the entire time. So what they're simply doing is ignoring or failing to accommodate a very small portion of people. And so that's how I like to
concept
frame
just
that.
doesn't make any sense to me. Do you know, it's interesting, within this, when you're talking about professionalism, I've always had this issue that I just don't understand what people really mean. Really, when we're at work, we should just be doing a really good job. But I think it's understanding what's actually coming from a bad place and intentionally harmful versus just a different method of communication. And so I've always had it about in terms of things to wear. Professional to me, like I said, is just doing a good job, at peace with everybody, and being happy in yourself at work. I don't think we should ever force people to.
I learned to mask. I was forced to mask as a kid. My father was a Texas oil man, and I was around a lot of wealthy people, and I had to behave in certain ways for that culture. It was also the 70s and 80s, and there was a much more strict culture. Literally, the kids were to be seen, not heard. Do not speak unless spoken to. The whole gambit, and they didn't really say that much there.
Earning a bachelor's degree doesn't have to put your life on hold. Not only does WGU have a generous transfer policy, but you get to complete coursework whenever works best for you. Study and take tests on your lunch break after the kids go to bed or with your morning coffee. Learn more and get started at wgu.edu.
Well, why didn't you tell me you didn't work here? And I'm like, what am I supposed to interrupt you? That's rude.
She has enjoyable tangents. She has very enjoyable tangents.
Hey everyone, it's
that's what I didn't. I have talked to my kid. Well, I talked to my son before he passed, but talked to my daughter too about how I raised them, and I didn't punish them. What I did was, well, damn, that didn't work now, did it? And then we talk about it, and that was pretty much it, because I figured if you screw up and then somebody just tries to make you miserable, that's stupid. When you screwed up, you screwed up. And I think both of my kids basically would own up to it on their own. And So I kind of didn't have to punish them, so to speak. I didn't bother with it. We talked about it, and I know my daughter beat herself up, but my son did too. And yes, we had our issues and everything else, but I punished them when they were very little, like 2, 3, 4. Like if they broke something or whatever. I broke a couple of toys a couple of times because they broke something that they weren't supposed to be getting into. I think I did it once with each kid, but so that they would understand what breaking somebody's stuff was like. And I only did that once, and I felt like a horrible person, but I did it, and they understood, and maybe that did them good in life, hopefully. What vacuum they had? And I bet you like totally wanted to see it too. Like totally like we're like, no, I'm serious. Like, what kind of vacuum do you have? I'm laughing at you. No, I'm laughing at me actually. I so did stuff like that. Like, what? Those people are probably still. Ethel, do you remember that one Halloween with that vacuum kid? Okay, I love you. I love you. I love you. Okay.
Olivia, and welcome back to my channel.
I don't think I should be making fun of the people in the comments. No, you know what I'm saying. It's fun. It's fun. It's great. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I identify just a little way too much.
If you are new here, thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you don't know me, my name is Olivia. I'm 26 years old and I'm autistic, and I was diagnosed later in life, and now I make videos trying to bring awareness to females and adults on the spectrum. If videos about those topics interest you, I would super appreciate.
Yeah, well, I'm dang near in tears here. You guys are going to make the stream really work here.
Like and subscribe below. I know I haven't posted a video in a while, and I'm super sorry about that. Life's been slightly hectic, a little bit, for a few reasons, some good, some bad. And
she's doing her
this
intro.
video is actually going to talk about one of the reasons that I've been a little hectic. And so I guess I shall introduce the topic of today's video, which is good jobs for autistic adults. Now, a lot of people have asked me what are good jobs for autistic people, like what jobs are made where autistic people can succeed. And
I had 2 jobs that worked really well for me. One was a garbage man because I was working by myself, and I drove my own truck, and I went out in the boonies. And so basically I didn't have to deal with anybody. I had a schedule, a routine, same thing every week. Same, stops. Every once in a while you get a different stop or change the stop, but that was part of the routine too. Oh, yeah. Oh, My mother and my grandmother were both diagnosed as schizophrenic in the 60s. Now, autism diagnosis didn't exist for them. I'm positive my mother was autistic. She was not schizophrenic. She was autistic for sure. Now, my grandmother, I don't know. I don't remember as much, but
you guys have asked me this for a long time, and I haven't made a video yet because I was honestly not sure.
Anyway, the other job that I did really well at was a correctional officer. And the funny thing is about a correctional officer, of course you did. I wouldn't have even asked about that. I wouldn't have asked about taking apart a vacuum cleaner. That I think that was in the given department. No shit. Trevor's killing me. I have you on here. I need a co-pilot on this thing.
I wasn't sure what jobs
exactly would be good.
No, I am totally serious. I want to find somebody to come on the stream with me and just crack me up. So
And obviously, autistic people are different. So some people
sit there and make fun of ballistics,
People may succeed at one job and not at another, and some people may succeed at this job but not at that other job, that other autism.
Like, what was that saying? Save the whales, club a seal. Don't bully autistics. Make fun of ballistics.
Person.
I don't make fun of autistic people. I make fun of ballistics.
Exceeds that, so obviously it's a spectrum.
Don't harass autistics. Instead, make fun of ballistics.
It's the name.
And we can get away with it. That's the funny part. That's the best part about being autistic. Because you can sit there and just make fun of ballistic people all day, and everybody's afraid to say anything about it. Modify later. Later on, modifying cell phones became a... Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't send Trevor to Ukraine. There's no damn telling what he's going to make.
So everybody's different, but I'm finally...
Trevor, how in the hell did you take control of all the drones at once? And the whole damn country, both sides. I don't know. Now, why are you playing on your phone there? Oh, no.
I'm making this video because I have found one job. This video is just about one specific job, but I think it's a really good one. So I'm just going to talk about this job. I'm going to talk about what it is and just why I think it's a good fit for autistic people and something that maybe you want to check out.
And then Trevor's like, well, I'm just playing a game.
Before I hop into the video, I just want to pause and thank today's sponsor, which is once again Skillshare. If you are
That's really cool, Trevor. That really is, man. That's awesome. My son was into a lot of the like coding stuff in computers. Oh my God, he was so smart. Holy hell.
Familiar with this business. They are a worldwide online global learning community, and you take courses online. Because, like I said, you guys have asked a lot, what are some good jobs for autistic people? And if you don't know, autistic people are historically very...
How old do you think she is? She looks like she's, I'm going to say in her later 20s.
Underemployed or
so
unemployed.
Being autistic, she's got to be, what, probably in her 30s, like 37 or something.
Together.
Yeah, right. You see that, what JV's saying, Trevor?
And this is usually for a couple factors. One...
Oh, geez, Trevor. I rebuild computers. In fact, right now, I'm streaming on 6 different platforms.
A lot of times, companies don't give autistic people the proper chances to either get the job and get hired or succeed at the job. And
yeah, I've got my son's computer sitting over in the corner not doing anything.
It can also just be because of us and our autistic traits. And when I say that, I mean like because we're so anxious a lot of times. We have trouble getting ourselves places and being on time. We have trouble with burnout from constant masking because we're in an office space with other people that we have to mask heavily around. And
now, as far as getting to work on time, once you get into a routine and you have multiple alarms or whatever, and now what I found was this: if I had a job where they tried to change the schedule, my body could not do it. I wouldn't know. I don't even know anything about that Cisco ASR. I don't know what that is. I am unknowledgeable there.
So just this whole social aspect is something that tires us out, makes us anxious. And so for these two combination of reasons. A lot of times we're under.
Oh yeah, like the changing schedules. Now I did do 12 on, 12 off. That was as good as I could do, but it was 3 days on, 4 days off or something like that. I can't remember. 3 days on, 3 days off. And I could do that schedule. But it kind of became a routine. It was a little bit harder, but at least it was the same schedule. They didn't say, on Friday you're coming in at this time and on Tuesday at this time. No, I can't do that. It screws up my brain and makes it too difficult for me to even get to work. I have to have that routine for my brain to work properly.
Employed or unemployed. Up until 2 months ago, I was under the impression that I could.
When I was working 12 days or 12 hours on, 12 hours off, 3 days on, 3 days off, I was, or for the 4 days off, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4, but nonetheless, I was completely drained. And the reason was I was working in an emergency room. And, I mean, you're like